Hello there, very good evening. This is the weekend edition of Primetime News on TV1. On behalf of the Newsfirst, the voice of the people, I'm Martin Satyanesan. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for this evening.
Two unidentified bodies spotted at Vellavata beach. Fishermen in the north continue protests against illegal entry of Indian fishermen. Fisheries Minister says a solution has been provided. Gazette issued preventing people who are not fully vaccinated from entering public places.
කෙනෙකුට පුළුවන් තමන්ට ඉන්නත් කරගන්න නැතුව ඉන්න. හැබැයි ඔහුට අයිතියක් නැහැ වෙන කෙනෙක්ගේ ජීවිතය අනුතරේ දාන්න.
3 people drowned in Vellavaya. 1 person missing. Power cuts are an act of sabotage, Public Utilities Commission says.
තමන්ට වැඩ බැරි වෙනකොට ඒක වහගන්න ආණ්ඩුව ගහන තුරුම්පුව තමයි කුමන්ත්‍රණය.
SLFP submits proposals on developing the country.
මේ වන විට පක්ෂ රාශියක් සමග සාකච්ඡා කරමින් යනවා ඉදිරියේදී නව සම්දානයක් දීපේව සම්බන්ධයෙන්.
CID questions person over Facebook comment.
On to your top story this evening. The bodies of 2 people were discovered at the Vellavata beach this evening. Police say they are yet to confirm their identities.
Crime Watch.
The police had discovered a man's body that was floating in the seas of Vellavata this evening. His identity is yet to be established. A second body was then spotted on the beach near Ramakrishna Place in Vellavata. It was found approximately 300 meters from the location where the first body was discovered. Our correspondent reported that a knife was also found near the second body. Police said that there were several wounds on the second body. Police had to use sniffer dogs to identify the body.
Crime Watch.
Fishermen in the north are continuing protest against the illegal entry of Indian fishermen into Sri Lankan waters. We now cross over to Senator Lanka, who has been following the story for us from the newsroom.
Fishermen in Sri Lanka have been protesting for several days now, demanding the authorities to halt the illegal entry of fishermen into the sea of Sri Lanka. Now, this crisis has seen many Indian fishermen being arrested in Sri Lanka and otherwise. But what is the situation at present?
The illegal entry of Indian fishermen into Sri Lankan waters is angering local fishermen and now forcing them onto the streets. Indian fishermen have been fishing in the sea of Sri Lanka for years with high-engine power trawlers that scoop up everything on the ocean bed. These fishermen, who have been demanding for a solution, are now staging continuous protests opposing the long-standing delays in resolving the matter. Some fishermen say this is a matter that has reached the depths of national security and not just an issue of encroachment by foreign fishermen. The National Fisheries Federation is one such movement that staged a protest in Mannar today.
We go fishing to protect our sea. The government is acting in a way that they have entrusted the people with the task of ensuring security. There is a question whether the government that expects the support of the people would protect our livelihoods. Fishermen from India use items like petrol bombs and fish in our waters fearlessly. Recently, the government obtained a loan from India. We feel that they have given our marine resources to them in return for their loan.
Amidst continuing protests, Fisheries Minister Douglas Devananda believes that he has found a solution during a meeting with the National Fisheries Federation.
Fisheries associations in the Jaffna district are continuing to stage protests. We have found a feasible solution to this. They believe that it is difficult to find a solution to this issue due to the protests of fishermen who are provoked by Tamil political parties. They have resumed fishing now by calling off the protest after trusting my word. There is no point in national security without people. Therefore, the government should protect the people. Indian fishermen are using trawlers and fishing in a way that is threatening the presence of the locals in those areas. They are continuously causing damages to the equipment of local fishermen.
On multiple occasions, Newsfirst highlighted how Indian fishermen carry out fishing in the Sea of Sri Lanka using their trawlers, often colliding with local boats. The recent tragedy was the death of 2 fishermen who died in a collision with an Indian fishing trawler. Their bodies were recovered on the 31st of last month, while the Indian fishermen who were arrested over the collision have been remanded until the 21st of this month. Fisheries associations say that Indian fishermen destroy equipment of local fishermen worth nearly 900 billion rupees every year. Sunil Handunethi, a former MP of the Janata Vimukti Peramana, has blamed the government's silence over this issue.
The fishermen in the north are protesting. Fishermen from India forcibly enter our waters and interfere with our fishing industry, but the government is silent. The government has not even requested to stop this. If the foreign minister is going overseas, it means they will have to sell the remaining assets. It may be to sell the assets of fishermen as well. They are doing anything they can to obtain dollars. The government is silent over this issue.
Foreign Minister G.L. Piris is to leave for India tomorrow, while the issues between India and Sri Lankan fishermen are continuing to worsen. Sri Lanka is expecting a loan of more than $1 billion from India as the country continues to grapple with a shortage of dollars. Matters relating to bilateral friendship and strengthening cooperation are expected to be discussed during the foreign minister's visit.
Now, every year a festival is held at St. Anthony's Church in Kachathew with the participation of Indian fishermen. This year, Sri Lanka has not allowed Indian fishermen to take part in this festival. Now, this has drawn much displeasure from Indian officials.
Sri Lanka's decision to bar Indian fishermen from a festival at St. Anthony's Church in Kachathewu Islands has also sparked concerns among Indian officials. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has written to Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar seeking to intervene and reverse this decision. A house was vested to a low-income earning family in Valpola, Angoda under the Gamata Gayak Ratata Vadak initiative. The event was held under the auspices of Minister of Industries Vimal Weerawansa and Minister of Energy Udaya Gamampilla. The project had cost 1.6 million rupees. The birthday celebrations of Minister Udaya Gamampilla was also held at the event. As we said from the beginning, engaging in discussions with the IMF is not the issue. The issue is whether or not to agree with the conditions they put forward. We have no issue in having discussions. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa says his Samagi Jana Balawege party will not go behind myths. He made these remarks during a meeting of the Dulapiti electorate today. There are plenty of shows at present. The recent show that they put up was to launch several projects. It's good, but why don't they stop that and create an environment suitable for the people to live? Stop the era of queues, reduce the cost of essential goods. Look at how many wrong decisions have been made based on myths. They placed a lot of trust on myths and water pots by disregarding science. I wish to say that anyone who believes myths shouldn't vote for the Samagi Jana Balawegya. We will carry out administration activities based on facts, data, research and science. That is the political journey that we should implement. Sri Lanka became a country that is begging from foreign nations because of the government's weaknesses. I am challenging anyone in the political spectrum to compete with Sajith Premadasa in terms of public service and to improve education and health.
කෙනෙකුට මම අභියෝග කරනවා පුළුවන් නම් ඉන්න සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාසත් එක්ක තරංගෙට මහජන සේවය, ජනතා සංවර්ධනය, අධ්‍යාපන සංවර්ධනය, සෞඛ්‍ය සංවර්ධනය මේ යනාදී දේවල් ක්‍රියාත්මක කරනවා.
The people have been standing in queues to purchase milk powder, gas and kerosene oil, as essential items are now scarce in the country. This was the queue near a local milk powder outlet in Kurunegala this morning.
මේවා ඉතින් කවදා විසඳෙයිද කියලා කියන්න බෑ ඉතින්. අරබුදේ නම් විසඳලා තියෙන 520 වෙලා දැන්. කිරිපිටි පැකට් එක. ඔව්. තව ටිකක් අවුව වෙන්න සැපයන්න හොඳද? මුණ්ඩ හෙන ගහනතර මත සැප නෙවෙයි. ඉලත් ඇදීලා සෞභාග්‍ය දැක්ම වැඩිලා.
Meanwhile, dairy product manufacturers say the prices of goods will have to be increased as the prices of the raw materials have risen.
අපිට මේ වෙන විට බඩු මිල අධික වීම නිසා
We are at a very difficult position right now due to the increase in prices of goods. Due to the shortage of dollars, the price of raw materials keeps increasing day by day. So that's why we are not able to run this business anymore. A yogurt was sold for 30 rupees in 2020. Now it will be sold for 50 rupees. If the prices of the ingredients keep rising in the future, we will have to increase the price of a yogurt by 5 rupees to 10 rupees.
අපිට යෝගට් එකක් රුපියල් 5කින් 10කින් වැඩි කිරීමට සිදු වෙනවා.
With the shortage of essential goods and the emergence of queues, the farming community is reaping the harvest of this cultivation season amidst the fertilizer crisis. However, the government commenced purchasing paddy of the Maha cultivating season on the 31st of January. Chairman of the Paddy Marketing Board, Neil Dialvis, visited the Paddy Marketing Board's warehouse complex in Samanturai, Ampara this morning.
අපි දල වශයෙන් දවසකට මෙට්‍රෝන 1500ක් විතර ගන්නවා. මේ සැරේ මිල ඉතාම ඉහළයි. සාමාන්‍ය ඔබ දන්නවා රුපියල් 50.
The Ampara program is continuing successfully. On average 1,500 metric tons of paddy. The stocks have increased this time around. Normally Nadu Samba and Kiri Samba are sold for 50 rupees and 52 to 55 rupees. This time around the price of a kilo of Nadu is sold at 90 rupees. The price of Samba is at 92 rupees and a kilo of Kiri Samba will be sold at 95 rupees. Moreover, farmers are given 2 rupees per kilogram for preparation and transport. We can give it to farmers' organizations and storage. We can give it to the farming representatives. We will purchase paddy on a village level. We can send a lorry or a container to any location. We can bring paddy to farmers for many turns. Funds for all of this is ready. Support the government by bringing standard paddy and increasing your income.
ඉහළ මිල ලබාගෙන ඔබේ ආදාය වැඩි කර ගන්න කියලා ඒ වගේම රජයට සහයෝගය දෙන්න.
The absence of a chemical in Sri Lanka's market is threatening the rubber industry.
The spread of a pest is worsening troubles among Sri Lanka's rubber industry. The Pestaloptiosis disease is causing rubber leaves to fall to the ground, affecting output from estates. Rubber estates like the one of Seneca Fernando in the Hiobita have seen output declining by at least 25%.
The
Rubber Research Institute used drones, misblows and conducted tests on using the hydroseal chemical. But given the current situation, the chemical isn't being sold in the market. The Ceylon Planters Association says the absence of the chemical to treat the pest on time has aggravated the problem. The delays came as the government slapped a ban on agrochemicals in April last year before reversing it in November. Despite reversing the ban, the chemical required to treat this disease is still not in the market.
With the government policy, the fertilizer ban and the chemical ban came into play. So with that only actually these chemicals are not freely available at the moment. Short of dollars also it must be another issue. If you don't treat at the proper time, with the fertilizer shortage, it's very difficult to meet our day-to-day productions.
Back at the estate in the Hiobita, workers are complaining that their income has dropped.
අපි දැන් 45ක් විතර මේ පඩියක් ගත්තා. දැන් අපිට 30ක් විතර තමයි පඩිය හම්බෙන්නේ.
As the problem continues, a bitter fate awaits the rubber industry. A warm appreciation to the ones who stood by us on Independence Day for the opening ceremony of the water purification plant in Nilumvilla Mahavilachya in Anuradhapura. Come Madda, by the people, for the people.
Health Minister Keheliya Rambukwala issued an extraordinary gazette today preventing unvaccinated people from entering or being in public places. When will the new guidelines take effect?
According to the Gazette notification, the relevant laws will come into effect from the 30th of April this year.
What does fully vaccinated mean?
According to the Gazette notification, fully vaccinated means the relevant person has obtained the required doses of the vaccine as specified by the Director General of Health Services. The Director General of Health Services instructed to provide clear guidance. The Gazette has instructed the Director General of Health Services to take necessary steps and to issue circulars or guidelines to set boundaries regarding proof of being fully vaccinated, exceptional circumstances to exempt a person from vaccination, and on the age groups eligible to receive the vaccine. 3 months after the second dose, the booster vaccine can be taken. According to the current criteria we have, once you have taken the booster vaccine, you will be qualified as a fully vaccinated person. Only such fully vaccinated people will be allowed to go out in public.
Can a person stay without being fully vaccinated?
A person can stay without obtaining any vaccine, but he or she cannot be allowed to become a threat to another. We have still not decided whether we are going to take the vaccination card as proof of vaccination. The idea of using a mobile app for this purpose is also taken into consideration. All these matters are still under discussion. We will notify the public regarding this procedure shortly.
What is the latest COVID-19 situation in the country?
With the spread of the Omicron COVID-19 variant, the Ministry of Health says that the number of infections reported had increased by 30% compared to last week. Its Technical Services Director and Coordinator for COVID-19, Dr. Anwar Hamdani, said the death toll had also risen by 8 to 10%.
The effect of vaccination on the COVID-19 mortality rate.
The Minister of Health says that 2/3 of the people who had succumbed to COVID-19 during the past few weeks had not been fully vaccinated.
The Omicron variant is causing a massive spike in COVID-19 infections across the world. Newsfirst Asan Shashuli has the latest on this issue.
I've got this lovely graph for you from Our World in Data. It's published by the Oxford University, showing us how COVID-19 cases have increased. We start off here, the 1st of March 2020. That was when the outbreak was spreading across the world. And occasionally, as we move along this timeline, we can see a few spikes here. The first one somewhere in February last year, and then the second spike. There we go, June 2021. A few spikes over there. But the focus of this story is somewhere here. We go to early December last year, and that was when the Omicron variant was first detected in Africa. And since then, as you can see, the graph speaks for itself. The COVID-19 infections have increased substantially since the Omicron variant came into effect. Now let's take a look at the US, because that is one of the countries that has been worst affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, and especially as the Omicron variant continues to spread across the world. I've got this data for you once again from Our World in Data, run by the Oxford University. It shows us how deaths have fluctuated over a period of time, starting from the 1st of March 2020. This is how deaths have been taking place in the US as far as COVID-19 is concerned. I want to draw your attention to this point. Here we can see this is somewhere in December last year. This shows us that this was the period, in fact, in which the deaths recorded in the US on average daily was hovering around 300 and 400 deaths per day. However, as soon as the Omicron variant was detected in Africa, this number continued to rise, and now we are at this point. This basically means that there are approximately 2,200 deaths taking place in the US due to COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic is continuing to spread across the world, especially after the Omicron variant was detected in Africa in December. As you can see right behind me, the red hotspots around the world indicate how COVID-19 cases are being detected, starting from Australia and right down to North America. And now we are seeing more than 390 million COVID-19 cases recorded annually. Let's now take a look at the global COVID-19 situation to see how other countries are faring against the COVID-19 pandemic.
Australia's state of Queensland has recorded its deadliest day of the pandemic, with 21 people dying of COVID-19. 8,508 new cases have been confirmed in the latest reporting period. The deaths range from people in their 60s to their 90s, and 7 were in aged care facilities. Scientists in South Africa have made a copy of the Moderna COVID vaccine. It's a move which they say could help boost vaccination rates across Africa. The company behind the new vaccine, African Biologics, says it hopes to start clinical trials in November. France has surpassed 20 million confirmed cases since the start of the pandemic. Health Ministry data reported a further 274,352 infections in the last 24 hours.
We'll continue with more local stories after this short commercial break. Stay tuned.
News First, main sponsor.
Sun all-purpose disinfectant spray.
Tech Bus. The first phase of the Tech Bus initiative, successfully held at St Andrews College in Puttalam.
ස්ලිට් ආයතනයත් එක්ක බොහොම සාර්ථක වැඩසටහනක් කරා. සමාජ මාධ්‍ය ජාල ගොඩක් පාවිච්චි කරනවා. කොහොමද ආරක්ෂිතව අපේ වැඩ කරගන්නේ කියලා ලොකු දැනුමක් හම්බුණා. අපේ අයට ලොකු දැනුමක් ලැබුණා කියලා මම හිතනවා. ඇත්තටම බෙහෙවින්ම ස්තුතියි.
මේ මෙහෙවර සාර්ථක වේවා කියලා ඊට සිතින් ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා.
Tech Bus. Organised by Slit Institute.
Tech Bus.
Main sponsor.
Slit Knowledge University, challenging convention and redefining education.
Welcome back to the news. 3 people have died after drowning in the Allewala waterfall in Vallavaya. Police have identified the deceased as residents of Mathura.
A group of 6 who were travelling to Nuwara from Mathura had stopped to bathe at a waterfall in Vallavaya. However, for 3 people, their journey was cut short as they drowned at the Allewala waterfall. Leslie Kumara, who was among those who lost their lives, had posted a picture on Facebook moments before the tragedy. A survivor in the group who saw 2 people drown in the waterfall recalled the horrific ordeal. The remains of the deceased, who are 51 and 65-year-olds, were recovered from the water this afternoon. A 56-year-old was among those who lost their lives. His body was found this afternoon. The Vallavaya police are conducting further investigations.
නොදන්නා ස්ථානයක ඔබ වතුරට වහිනවා නම් දියට වහිනවා නම් ඔබ දිය ස්නානය කරනවා නම් අපි කියනවා පණි.
If you're entering the water in a new location, at least use a bucket. Natural water bodies change their nature instantly. There is no doubt that they are beautiful, but there is a risk of an accident. If you see a person drowning, the first thing you must do is call for help. Secondly, throw anything that you can get hold of. Even if it is a grass plant, throw it into the water instead of jumping in. If that happens, we may lose several lives.
අපි කියනවා තුත්තිරි ගහක් හරි කමක් නැහැ විසි කරන්න. තමන් වතුරට පහින්න නැතුව එහෙම පැන්නොත් වෙන්නේ අපිට ජීවිත කිහිපයක් නැති වෙනවා.
The Public Utilities Commission says the recent power cuts were imposed as an act of sabotage. The Commission's chairman Janaka Ratnayaka said that legal action will be taken over this matter.
They imposed these power cuts without informing the Commission. That goes against the law. We have begun initiating legal action against that. We have also drawn our attention as they have violated the law. This should be an act of sabotage. Otherwise, power cuts are not usually imposed at 5:30. That is not a peak hour. Minister of Power Gamani Lokuge said an investigation is being conducted to determine whether the power cuts were an act of sabotage. He said the investigations are being conducted based on the request of the Public Utilities Commission. Power cuts were reported in many areas yesterday, although the Ceylon Electricity Board had not made a prior announcement on that. The Minister of Power had also said he does not expect power cuts to occur in the future. Power cuts had occurred on Thursday as power plants ran out of fuel to generate electricity. Minister of Energy Udaya Gammampila was questioned by journalists on the supply of fuel to power stations. The Ceylon Electricity Board had said it would obtain fuel directly from the IOC. During a meeting with the President, we said that fuel would be given to us, so that we have been relieved of that responsibility. They have not only informed the President but told the media as well that they will obtain it directly from the IOC. Regardless of whether they obtain it from the IOC or not, we will supply fuel as much as we can to generate power.
IOC එකෙන් ලැබුණත් නැතුවත් අපිට පුළුවන් අනුව අපි විදුලියට අවශ්‍ය ඉන්ධන සපයන්න. ඒ වුණාට ඒ ලයිට් කපන්නේ තෙල් නැති නිසා. පොඩ්ඩක් ඒක විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලයෙන් අහන්න. ඔබතුමා හරියට තෙල් දුන්නා නම් ඔක වෙන්නේ නැහැ නේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ අපෙන් නෙවෙයි ගන්නව කිසිසේත්ම නැහැ. IOC සමාගම ඒගොල්ලෝ ලබා ගන්නකො එහෙන් ලබා දෙනවා ඇති. විදුලිය කපන එක කුමන්ත්‍රණයක් වෙනවා කියලා කියනවා. මම දන්නේ නැහැ.
From the day this government was elected to power, they have failed to deliver the promises they made. Whenever they fail, their excuse is that there is some conspiracy. When the teachers took to the streets demanding a salary that suits their labor, the government labelled it as a conspiracy. When the innocent farmers did not receive their quota of fertilizer for cultivation, they came to the streets demanding it. Once again, the government called it as a part of a conspiracy. Due to certain ignorant and foolish decisions of this government, we are now facing power cuts. Now the government's MPs are saying that this is also a conspiracy. They are trying to cover their weakness by spreading false alarms on conspiracies. In a twist of fate, the government that came to power by harping on a conspiracy is now using the term conspiracy to cover up their mistakes. In one of a headline-making stories, the working committee of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party convened in Colombo this morning. Committee members from across the island were present today.
Several senior members of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party were also present at the meeting. A suggestion was made to submit a proposal to the government to resolve the economic and political crisis in the country.
ආණ්ඩු යන කතාවක් අපි මොකද සාකච්ඡා කරලා නැහැ. එහෙම එකක් නෙවෙයි. ඉතින් අර්බුදය, ගෑස් අර්බුදය ඒ ඔක්කොම කොහොමද කරන්නේ මේ ආණ්ඩුවෙන් කියන මොකද ඔය විදුලි අර්බුද, ගෑස් අර්බුද, කෘෂි කර්මයේ අර්බුද ඒවා ඉතින් ආණ්ඩුව විසඳන්න ඕනේ ඉතින්. ඒගොල්ලෝ කියන්නේ කොහොමද කරන්නේ? මේක අදහස් එකක් කෙනා ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා.
The Sri Lanka Communist Party, a coalition partner of the government, held its 12th Mathura District Convention today. The event was held under the patronage of the party's General Secretary, Dr. G. Veerasinghe. The party's former General Secretary and leader, D.E.W. Gunasekara, and MP Veerasumana Veerasinghe were among those present. The crisis that we are experiencing at the moment is the worst since independence, but a discourse has not been created in the country. What is important is the cause for this problem. The President, Prime Minister, Cabinet, Ranil Wickremesinghe or Sajith Premadasa don't know about this. We thought the JVP would know that, but they also don't know that. They blame corruption and say that when corruption is wiped out, the country would move forward. Why aren't there rupees in the treasury? Since they don't have rupees, they are printing money. When they print money, the cost of goods increase. Tax revenue is not flowing into the country. I personally felt that a person who is not involved in politics would be more suitable to be the president. I had bad experiences under the executive presidencies from J.R. Jayawardena to Mahinda Rajapaksa. But a person who is not involved in politics can't do this job. Public employees can't be instructed to work based on commands, just as it is done in the army. You can see how the agriculture minister is behaving. The post of agriculture minister was held by D.S. Senanayaka, Dudley Senanayaka, M.D. Banda, Gamini Jayasuriya, Hector Kobbakaduwa, D.M. Jayaratna and Maithripala Sirisena. Farmers have never spoken back at them, but today they attack him continuously, even by burning his effigies. The people don't know the reason for this crisis. There are only 4 or 5 rice millers in the country. They are linked to the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. 46% of the rice is produced by them. They hoard these stocks and then decide the prices. What they decide stays as the price in the market. No one goes against them. That wasn't done under the past governments or the present governments. That is why there is an issue relating to the policy.
The Criminal Investigation Department questioned a resident of Pannipitiya this morning. This was over a comment he has published on Facebook.
The man identified as Kumara Joseph was summoned to the Criminal Investigations Department at 9 this morning. The Criminal Investigations Department had issued a notice to him on Monday. They wanted to record a statement from him over his comment on a post published by Father Cyril Gamini. Therefore, we produced our client today. Kumara Joseph left the CID after providing a statement for 5 hours. They asked me whether I personally know the Cardinal, Father Rohan Silva, Father Julian Patrick and Father Cyril Gamini. They also asked whether I personally know Stephen Miller in Australia and Saman Kapila. But I don't know them personally. I said that I had not published malicious remarks and that I can't provide a statement without looking at the 2 comments. When they produced the 2 comments, they realized that I had not made any malicious comment. It's clear that the government is taking steps to silence the Cardinal, Father Cyril Gamini, Father Rohan Silva, Father Julian Patrick, senior clergymen and other civil activists who are seeking justice over the April 21st attacks. Therefore, we wish to tell the government to avoid considering the victim as the accused. They are summoning people to the CID over comments posted on Facebook. Are we celebrating the 74th Independence Day without the freedom of speech? Freedom of speech is a basic human right accepted worldwide. In a democratic country, it is not suitable to summon innocent people and waste their time. If everyone who comments on Facebook gets summoned to the police, the CID and the police won't have time to do anything else.
Former President of Sri Lanka Cricket Vijay Malalasekara passed away this morning.
Former President of Sri Lanka Cricket Vijay Malalasekara was 77 years old at the time of his demise. He held senior positions in both public and private institutions and was appointed as the President of Sri Lanka Cricket in 2001. Sri Lanka won 10 consecutive Test matches during his tenure as the President of the Cricket Authority.
The Pakistani High Commission held an event to mark the Kashmir Solidarity Day in Colombo today. Pakistan's High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Major General Umar Farooq Burki, graced the event. The Kashmir Solidarity Day is held to show Pakistan's support with the people of Kashmir.
For you and for you yourself. Pakistani nation stands.
Shifting your attention to international news, Russia has agreed a 30-year contract to supply gas to China through a new pipeline and will settle the new gas sales in euros.
Russia has agreed to supply gas to China through a pipeline from its Far East region with northeast China for 30 years. The agreement had been reached at a meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping yesterday. Gazprom, which has a monopoly on Russian gas exports by pipeline, would supply 10 billion cubic meters of gas a year. Russia already sends gas to China via its Power of Siberia pipeline since 2019. It shipped 16.5 billion cubic meters of gas to China in 2021. Russia says its assault ships of the Northern and Baltic fleets arrived at the Russian Navy's logistics facility in New Syria. They had arrived at Syria's port of Tartus as part of carrying out certain drills aimed at countering military threats to Russia. The drills will cover the seas adjacent to Russian territory and also operationally important areas of the world ocean. The massive drills will bring together over 140 warships and support vessels and about 10,000 troops.
From that, we bring to a close this edition of Primetime News on TV1. For details of these stories and much more, simply log on to our website www.newsfirst.lk. For the Newsfirst, the voice of the people, I am Martin Satyanesan, along with our sign language interpreter Taruka Gabriel. You take care and good night.